we all have our gifts. Everybody has their gifts. In fact, I can create just about anything, but I can't spell to save my life. So we all have something we're good at, and I think it's by design. It's by design.
Hello, and welcome to the Gift of Need podcast. I'm Jude DiMeglio Trang. I'm the host of this podcast, and I like to pursue some things related to human need and how our need can be, instead of burdens, that we can view them as opportunities and gifts. And I do that with really amazing guests like my guest today. So John T. Benedict is an artist and sculptor here in Arizona, and we're going to be talking about art and sculptures and why we need artists that inspire us. So, hi, John.
Hi. Happy to be here.
Good. Thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to join us. So, John is the founder of Some Distant World. He shapes celestial metalworks from steel, recycled metal, and parts and old machinery, and forgotten materials on this earth. Today, we're going to be discussing art and sculptures and how they can inspire us and capture our imagination. So, John, you've said that you feel that you were meant to be an artist, and that goes way back to when you were like 5 years old, right? So tell us about that as a child, and just a little bit about your past.
Sure. I know I was supposed to be an artist as a child. It's like I was doodling and drawing things instead of doing my homework, and getting in trouble in elementary school because of it. I mean, my parents were supportive, but the teachers didn't like it very much. And in fact, I had a science teacher tell me one time if I spent half as much time on my homework as I did doodling and drawing things, that I would be somebody.
Oh.
I mean, obviously I listened to him, obviously, but, and with my parents being supportive, they did it on a number of different ways. They would help me with crafting projects or allow me to be part of their crafting projects. I have a fond memory of my dad. I mentioned to you this earlier, but I had a fond memory of my dad was standing behind me talking to someone, and I was busy drawing a little alien creature that rolled around on a ball on a frozen planet. And what my father said, he said, he knows more about that world than he does this one. And I mean, you think about it, he could have squished it. He could have said that's stupid. Or any number of things, right. But he supported me as a little being and what I wanted to do and what I felt was my soul's purpose.
And how profound is that, right? I mean, he probably really didn't have an idea of the profundity of that statement for you. I remember some things like that with my parents, and I look back, and at the time I didn't know really what it meant. And I truly believe they didn't really know either. It was almost prophetic, Sure. But it just came out of them, right? His observation of you, right?
Right. Yeah, I'm really grateful for my parents. They were inspirational in life. It's like to put it in perspective, I went back to a high school reunion. I don't know, it was my 10 or 15 year reunion. And I had kids, people my age, coming up to me and saying, John, I just have to tell you, your father did this or that. Your father helped us in a time of need. Your father inspired us. Your father did this. And I was blown away by some of the things that my dad was doing in the background that I had no idea about. And so it was a beautiful thing. What a beautiful role model,
Well, did you grow up like studying art, or,
No.
what did you just like start into it after high school, or?
God-given gift. Like seriously, just knew I needed to, and was a kid not doing my homework, and just that's what I wanted to do.
Well, what did you do when you entered the workforce?
I started pretty quickly into the construction field, but as quickly as that, I went into the creative side of it. Like I got involved with a group that was building nightclubs around the country. And to put it in perspective, it was themed environments. Like one of them was called Gotham. So you can imagine it was this surrealistic looking nightclub that had, Gotham City looking buildings and, dance pods and all this stuff. And I was responsible at one point, I was responsible for 360 degrees of everything that was involved in there. Like you could literally snap a picture of these nightclubs, and some of them as much as 50,000 square foot nightclubs.
Wow.
And so it was a completely artistic. Even the bathrooms look cool. And so, yeah, I got a really strong dose of being creative with that organization. And we had to, honestly, we just had to make shit up. Excuse my language.
Yeah.
We had to use materials and just create whatever we could.
And that was then you kind of took off from there. So yeah, I think about how difficult this world is for some of us more than others, right? And I believe we all need to have a break from the humdrum work in life, and beauty and art are so important. They're gifts that I think can give us that break, and even more, they can encourage us in just a lot of different ways. So what do you think it is about the visual arts that brings us a lift in a way that nothing else can?
You're absolutely right. My opinion on that is this: is like if you live in chaos, it's going to lower your vibration. If you clean off a shelf and do something beautiful, you walk in, you smile. Well, that just raised your vibration. Mm-hmm. And so I really feel like art, all forms of art, music, dance, literature, the performing arts. I mean, Jesus, being an athlete is all forms of art. And I just think if you witness somebody doing a beautiful dance move across the stage, it could literally, raise your vibration. And I've had people walk into my booth. Now, I don't know if the audience, has had a chance to see any of my art or not, but I build these metal angels, and some of them are massive, and they're very powerful. They're very also gentle. And I've had people walk into my booth with tears in their eyes, and they can't speak. They're choked up. It's like, I don't care if they buy a damn thing. That's enough. And I raise that person's vibration just by creating something beautiful.
Yeah.
And they'll think about that time and time again.
Yep, exactly. So how do you think drawing and doodling and doing art projects as a young person set your, well, I mean, it sounds like even as you went into construction, you weren't like building tract homes. You were building these creative, artistic environments, right? And so, so how did you move on into sculpting? Is there something about the tactile part of doing this work that suits you in a special way, as opposed to you becoming, another kind of artist?
There's a curriculum that happened. It's like in the early days, I'm learning to draw and do these, construction projects. The construction projects gave me the ability to know how to build things, and it kept going and going down this path. And how I got into the sculptural stuff is my brother and I shared a shop that had a parking lot that touched part of the Gem and Mineral Show in Tucson. This is a massive show that happens January, February every year. Anyway, it's like, there's the show. Here's our parking lot. So it's free for us to set up. I mean, all we have to do is put up a tent, put a few pieces in there. Well, I did that. I might have had 10 or 15 pieces in there. At the end of the show, I counted how much money I made, how much time it took me to do it, how much time it took me to put into the process of building the sculptures. And I tripled my income. And I'm like, no, wait a minute. And so the next year I did it again and doubled my amount of product I had. And it did the same thing.
Wow.
So I did this shotgun effect. I just did any show that I could get my hands on. I think it was within 3 years, I did 18 shows in one season, like 1 year, which is a lot.
Whoa.
Yeah. And so it was, once again, I was learning. I found out that I did do better in like fine art shows, juried shows, where the quality of the vendor is a little bit better. I do better than a craft fair, so to speak.
Right.
And so, I think all the other the doodling and drawing and the construction and all that stuff was background information for what I needed to be able to build sculptural stuff.
Yeah, yeah. So since you do create your art from steel and metal and recycled parts and stuff and machinery, that takes a lot of special equipment and tools and space, right? I mean,
yes, ma'am.
I'm trying to picture. We'll show a couple of your sculptures in a little bit, but
okay,
it's like when you think about the size of the things you're working on now, that's
right.
A lot of special equipment.
Yes, ma'am. There's a bit of a sliding scale there. The stuff that I normally build is everything I can produce in my shop. I can produce a 20-foot tall sculpture in my shop. I have to get creative. But most of the things are, like someone could put them on a hand truck and wheel them away. The bigger angels, I have to use a piece of equipment to move them and stuff like that. Now, the really big ones, I do in a shop across town because the size of the material that I need, like the plate is 8 foot wide by 20 feet long.
Oh.
Yeah. So I couldn't even pick that up at my shop. And so I made friends with a company that has the ability to have a CNC plasma cutting table that can cut that size material as well as pick it up and move it. And they have overhead cranes and all this stuff. And they just said, when it's time to build one of those, they just let me set up in the corner of their shop. And
wow, how good is that, right?
Seriously.
Yeah. So those tools, those are the physical tools that you need, but it is clear this also takes a great imagination, right? And
yes, ma'am.
In thinking about our imaginations, I think especially in the United States, in a very much like, go to college, do this work, and, sit in an office all day thing. Our imaginations seem like they're a luxury for daydreamers. But yet, the truth about our imaginations is that they allow us to solve problems creatively by testing scenarios and evaluating various outcomes, right? And it is said that by this constructing mental images of the future, we can better deal with present challenges. And, of course, our imagination helps us move from linear thinking to finding new and novel solutions in every area of life. I mean, you think like Albert Einstein said that I'm not that smart, but I'm really curious. And that's what drives his imagination and thinking outside the box, right? And this is the one I like. It's also been found that mentally rehearsing our actions can strengthen neural pathways, which at my age, it's really important, So do you find that as an artist, that you have a more active imagination than a lot of the people that you relate to? Obviously there's something different between being an artist and being an accountant or other things. So when you interact with people, do you perceive that difference?
Well, there's obvious that we all have our gifts. Everybody has their gifts. In fact, I can create just about anything, but I can't spell to save my life. So we all have something we're good at, and I think it's by design. It's by design. But I do know that to answer your question, yes, when I describe something, sometimes people glaze over, and it's like, okay, well, that's fine, because when they try to talk, politics to me, I glaze over. So we all have our good points and strong points, but yes, I think that there's differences with all of us.
Yeah. Yeah. And finding that place where you're doing your gift. And I think that's what a lot of our, especially in America, because I've got friends and family in Europe and in Australia, and the way our teaching kind of has traditionally aimed everybody towards this one box, right? And I think we're awakening to the fact that not everybody needs to go to college to have a successful and happy life. And what is success, right? Redefining that. What is contentment as a person and joy? How do you trade that off for money, right? So, I connected with you after seeing one of your larger than life metal sculptures of an angel up at a gallery near our home. And my husband and I were walking to dinner, and I saw this and just like stopped and went, oh my gosh. And then I got closer. Well, first of all, it was stunning. And it caused me to consider what it would be like to actually come face to face with one of these like glorious beings, right? The sculpture was beautiful and majestic and otherworldly, and yet it was also approachable. Like I saw for her long hair, it was bike chains, and this was all rusted steel and stuff. And so I find that as I then looked at more of your angels, and they're very realistic, yet they're somehow ethereal, and I noticed that some are very powerful masculine figures and others are also feminine, but also powerful, which is something you don't see, a lot. And they're certainly not the fat little cherub Renaissance baby angels with the little the little wings.
I'm not scared of that. I'm not afraid of that.
They're cute art, but yeah, instead, I feel like your angels are trying to bring to mind the angels of the Bible, which is, when they appear, when you read when they appear, the person falls down on their face as if they're dead. And the angel says, do not be afraid, get up, don't worship me. But, and they strike you with awe. So can you tell us about the process that you go through envisioning and designing these like supernatural beings?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. There's a couple sides to that story, but when I want to design something, like let's just say I want to design a feminine form, it's like I see them as both being gentle and strong, and so I think of positionings and or what they would be holding to represent that without ever having to put it on a plaque, like ever having to physically say it. And it'll be as simple as a butterfly on a fingertip or a bird on a fingertip, but yet they're holding a spear or a sword. And it's like, holy crap. I mean, she's got a heart, but she'll kick your ass.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the kind of thing that I like to do. And like with the male angels, it's like, I don't know. I mean, I think that these things are spiritual beings. Like they are beyond human comprehension as far as their spirituality is concerned. And I would think that, they would meditate. I do these male angels meditating. They got their hands like this on their knees with these badass wings that stick straight up in the air. And it's like that again portrays gentle and strong.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I'm going to show everybody a picture, but you'll have to, we'll be talking about John's new book in a subsequent podcast, but I'm going to just show this, and I'll give his website that you can go to and see these gorgeous things. But like this is, that one is, she's got the bird on her, on her,
fingertips there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then I like this one, the guy kneeling down.
Oh, right. I mean, that's Gabriel. Yeah,
that's Gabriel. And folks, I'm telling you, these are big, big statues. So, John and I were chatting recently about spiritual experiences that there's no tangible explanation for, and how so many people have them, right? And even somebody I mentioned this to, I was talking about this whole podcast and your angels and stuff, and they said, well, why do we have so many people that have died and have been resuscitated, come back to life? Tell us about like this light and things they can't even put into words of what they've seen. There's, and it brings me back to angels. And, they're mentioned like at least 275 times in the Bible. And 30 some books, right? And the first place that they are ever recounted in all literature on the earth is in the Bible. And a couple thousand years later, they're mentioned in the other documents and manuscripts. But they're all, whatever they are, they're servants of God. They perform different tasks. They're described as guardians, messengers, warriors. So whole point, I think, is we just don't normally see them in action, right? Because there is a veil between our world and the other world. And
Yes, ma'am.
some people, though, have been given insights into the unseen world. And Joan Baez has a song called God is God. And a line that every time I hear it, she says, I believe in prophecy. Some folks see things that not everybody can see. And once in a while, they pass those secrets along to you and me. So that's how I feel about your angels. And do you relate to that idea? And how does that inform your artwork? These, like I'm thinking that you probably aren't sitting in a trance getting a divine vision and then all of a sudden scribbling it, but that inspiration.
Yes, ma'am. The inspiration comes in a number of different ways, and I'll get to the point about a little deeper about that conversation. But sometimes I'm given a flashcard image. Like if you look at me, it's just this little flashcard image. I get the concept, I get the idea, I don't get the full picture, and it's up to me to figure out how to create it. Other times I could be in a meditation and I full on visualize and see what one of these things look like. I say that I'm given a gift from the other side, like I'm pulling that information from the other side. Other times I want to physically design something. And so I sit down and I start thinking about it or visualizing how it's going to look. And I figure out the process that way. And sometimes I'll pick up an engine part, and I'll be like, oh my God, that's a seahorse head. And it's like, so I'll build a seahorse. And so the inspiration comes in a lot of different directions. And, I don't know, I think we humans can pull that information from the other side. Every one of us has a form of intuition that we can tap into. Some use it more than others.
Exactly. Yeah.
Seriously, just pausing a moment before you push send on an email and seeing how it feels is touching on intuition. So,
Well, and the what's so interesting to me about your sculptures of angels is that they're in metal.
Right.
There's something about. I mean, I love all kinds of art, and I've seen beautiful paintings and stuff. But the fact that these are there and they're in this very firm kind of a thing. Part of that is a big part of it. What gives it its force, gives them their it brings to your mind. Oh my gosh. Another friend I was talking to about this last night, and she said, well, when you think about it, there's supposed to be myriads upon myriads, thousands upon tens of thousands. Like, just think of if you could visualize tens of thousands of these guys, in their power like this. You were telling me the other day about one that you did that's like 23 feet tall with his wings and stuff. And when I visualized that, I stood back and went, oh my word. We have no idea how huge angels really are. But like I said, you get a distinct impression that they're really big and really impressive, So
yes, ma'am.
Do you get feedback from people about how, in particular, your angel statues, but other ones, have enriched their lives? And do you find that people sometimes struggle to put it into words about how they view them?
I've had some beautiful feedback from a lot of different people, but I've had somebody tell me that they quit drinking because of one of the angels. As we mentioned the other day, I've been involved with some spiritual healing centers, and they do medicine journeys and stuff there. And I've heard stories of people having dreams before they even arrived on property, and they're nervous about what they're getting ready to do, and they had a dream about these angels, and then they show up on property, and then they have tears running down their face because they know damn well that they're in the right place.
Wow.
And so it's like the powers to be are using, what I mean by that is the universe, angels, God, whatever you want to call it, is using the imagery of these sculptures to help heal people.
Exactly. Exactly.
so
I think that's a big thing about angels and their presence,
mhm,
that we
mhm,
don't know. I remember that thing that Jesus said when, I can't remember the setting, but he said, about children, that their guardian angels are standing over them. And I remember when I was young and I didn't know anything about God or the Bible or
mhm.
Jesus, but I remember hearing about guardian angels and I didn't know what the heck that meant. But when you think about it, that's amazing. That
Mhm,
is
mhm.
amazing that there are, they're there. They're just
Yes, ma'am.
behind a veil that we don't normally see. I mean, sometimes we do have visions and some people do, but I think
Yeah.
I think you're putting these guys and into something tangible is really so uplifting. And I particularly like being somebody who feels very strongly about the error of patriarchy in
Mhm,
a lot of Christian and Jewish and other religions, that the male and female thing, if you believe in God and he said, I created you male and female, that to me, it's my husband and I go, well, why has there always been this thing that men think that women were something less than, right? It's
It couldn't
very
be further
odd.
from the truth.
Yeah, but
Could
it's
not
so
be further
pervasive.
from the. Oh
Yeah,
yeah, it's stupid.
it's
It's stupid.
ridiculous. So I really love that the nobility that you've brought to those women, and there's nothing
Mhm.
sexual about them at all.
No.
They're very just regal, like you
Mhm,
picture
mhm.
these people as Amazon queens or something, right?
Yeah, yeah. I really like portraying the strength and the I mean just the spiritual beauty of the feminine form. There's humans have got it wrong. I'll just be point blank. They've got it wrong. I mean, I feel like on the other side, it is so revered. It's like, let's have a being that is strong enough to bring an energy form from the other side and incarnate it on this plane. It's like, how powerful is that? It's like,
Mm.
so humans have got it wrong as far as I'm concerned. And it's like, I can I can portray beauty and strength in a feminine form and not have it be sexual. It's not about that.
That's
It's
right.
about strength and the power and the beauty of their energy, their feminine form, you know.
Yep. Yep.
And I want to touch on something you said a minute ago about talking about making these angels tangible, like making it real. I've had an experience where I had something physical happen with an angel. And I shared this with you the other day, but I'll share it again for the podcast. I was painting a mural on a wall at an apartment complex, and here's this wall. There's a swimming pool here, a little bit elevated area. This wall happens to be a building, and I'm painting this mural that had clouds and ocean and all this stuff. And I look up on top, and you can see the tops of these vena hoods. So they're chrome looking. They're stainless steel. I'm like, that won't do. That's going to be very distracting. So I got my air hose. And now keep in mind, I've been in sports, I've been in outdoors, I've been all this stuff. I know what it feels like to throw something. And so anyway, I took this air hose and I threw it north. It flicked out of my hand and went this direction. And I stood there like, what the hell was that? That was weird. Like, yeah, oh, whatever. And I grabbed my ladder, walk around the building, put my ladder up there and climb up to the top, and my mouth fell open because in that direction, there was a 6 foot diameter fan running full tilt without a shroud on it. I would have thrown my air hose right in the middle of that. It would have yanked my air compressor up there. It would have shredded all that. It would probably shut down the cooling system for the entire apartment complex. But my angels took that thing out of my hand and flicked it just enough to make it miss that fan. So I know they exist. There's an energy form that's beyond what this veil allows us to see.
Hmm.
And it's like, and sometimes they can breach that or whatever. I'm sure they do it all the time, but
Right.
not everybody gets to feel that.
Yeah. And we're not always aware of it. We just
No,
don't
no.
realize. So, what's your favorite installation of your work?
You know what? It's the big stuff. It really is. Let's see, I have two big ones in the Omaha, Nebraska area. I have two big ones technically 3 big ones in the Nashville area and 4 big ones in the Houston, Texas area. And I really like the big stuff because it just has this, I don't know, this presence, this wow factor. People walk up to it in awe. You know, if that angel was this big, you'd be, oh, look at that. Isn't that cute?
Uh-huh.
But if you can walk up and stand on his shoulder and your head comes up here to him, it's like, holy crap.
Right.
And so I feel like I'm supposed to build really big stuff. In fact, I mean, honestly, humanity needs to be building stuff that you can see from space. Let's tell the universe that, hey, we're here, we've arrived, we're spiritual. Let's do beautiful things. Let's show them we've arrived.
Great. Well, do you have any new concepts for sculptures that are floating around in your head? I mean, I imagine you have a lot of stuff that you just don't have the time to get to all of them. But is there some new concept that's you haven't done yet?
You know what? I get ideas all the time. In fact, it's that's one of my gifts. It's as easy as breathing to me. In 10 or 15 minutes, I can draw down 10 or 15 solid ideas. I just can't build them all.
Right.
And so what tends to happen is I have to, I'm going to back up a second. In any given year's time, I'll sell as many as 1,000 pieces. So I know, right? Like, holy crap. So yes, ma'am. And so you think about it, that's 3 a day. And I have to build that many. And so we're busy in the shop. We're cruising. We're producing lots of things. And so what it typically looks like is I have all these things that I know work. They're beautiful. They've been, people enjoy them. They'll purchase them, that sort of stuff. And I have to build those for the galleries, for up and coming shows, for, just this whole list of things that I have to do. And once I get free and clear of that, then I can look at, well, what's next? What's new? And one of my more recent ones was I got that I needed to build Isis, which is the Egyptian god. And she's in that classic position where her knees are facing this way and she's turned totally sideways like this, has her arms up like that. And then these big, beautiful wings go up like that. And it's absolutely stunning. Put one in the gallery and it sold within 2 weeks, just like that. And it was I think it was 28,000. But so there's things like that, and when I get a breath of a break, I take a look inward and I see what's next. And so there's always something on the horizon.
I'm sure. Well, we could go on, but it's time to end this podcast. And
thank you.
Well, thank you, John, for making the time to be with us. And as we talked about how the needs we all have for inspiration for our lives, and they can become those inspirations like that you have become opportunities and gifts for artists like you to use your abilities to create things that meet the needs for other people. And so I see it's like for community and society and brings joy and fulfillment to all of us. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you for what you're doing. Like you're bringing the energy and light from a lot of different people to light so people can see it. So thank you.
I enjoy it. So I guess I found my calling as a woman of a certain age. It's like, this was not something I ever envisioned even, a year ago. So everybody, you can check out John's work by going to somedistantworld.com, and Instagram is Damn If I Know, and Facebook, John T. Benedict, Some Distant World, Those are going to be in the show notes. Just take a look down there. The great music you're hearing was written and performed by Gabe Kubanda at Kubanda Music. You can find him on any streaming service. The engineer is Ray Engineering of 3rd Street Productions here in Tucson. Please consider following and rating and sharing this podcast and subscribing to my free Substack newsletter where you can find all previous podcasts and articles, and leave a comment for me or for John. I'd love to hear from you. Bye.